What's up, guys? Welcome to a Young Guns podcast episode. We are done with the off-season analysis. We are done with the season previews. Now it's time to start getting into motion for this upcoming season. So, we're talking about the Arizona Coyotes and why they should be relocated. We've been preparing this video for months, but it has been
Yeah.
delayed because we had to prioritize other things in advance. And we came prepared and we came with a very good case on why they should be relocated. So, can the Arizona Coyotes be saved or are they completely doomed? And Chris, let's start us off.
What should we start with? Should we start with the amount of money that they've lost before they went bankrupt in 2009? Do you guys want to know what the
Yeah,
amount
we could
is?
go. We could go with that. Yeah.
Okay. So they lost $70 million going up until
Yeah.
2009 when they went bankrupt. And if they wouldn't have filed for bankruptcy, they would have lost $45 million that offseason.
Hmm.
How insane is that for a hockey
Yeah.
team?
But I don't know if I read. I might have read something. I think it was last year, or yeah, it might have been last year, and it was basically that Arizona has been losing money ever since. Like every single year, they're losing money, and
They
so
haven't been
like
profitable.
yeah, they haven't been profitable at all. And so I think one of the biggest surprises is the fact that they're still around. Like, a lot of people have been asking this team to be relocated for some time. And now, they're in the process of within the next couple of years building a new arena and a new facility in hopes to potentially see if that's going to change things around. And I think that there's kind of a bit of a confusion here because I think a part of obviously NHL fans want to see Arizona likely be relocated. I think every NHL fan you talk to says, okay, this team needs to be relocated. It's just not working
Can I
here.
mention a couple of the options?
Yeah, let me just finish what I have to
Okay,
say, and then because I was
perfect.
going to get into that. So they're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not working here, whatever. And I think they want to see a team in other places. Chris, now you can mention the teams that they potentially want to see them in. But yeah.
Yeah, so we have Houston as a location. We have Quebec. Before Seattle, came into fruition and became the Seattle Kraken, Seattle was an option as well. People even mentioned Hamilton in Ontario. Kansas City is another one. So there's a crap load of options that I definitely think would be more suitable and more profitable for the NHL to capitalize on those cities that are big in terms of football, basketball, right? So why not move an NHL team there, especially when you're going to have a lot of media coverage because there's so much media coverage surrounding the other sports, right? And obviously when you have other sports involved, you have celebrities like basketball players and football players that are going to be attending the games, marketing that team. We've seen that when Seattle came in. We've seen it when Vegas came in. We see, basically other athletes coming and supporting other local teams, right? It's interchangeable, of course. So I think it would make sense to move Arizona. I feel like they're always given a lifeline, and it's time to say, you know what? Sure, they have cool ass jerseys,
Well,
but it's time to move on.
And here's the thing, though, is that you mentioned Hamilton before, and I just want to go through a history because this team has had. Hang on, let me count here because I have notes. Uh,
yeah,
they've
he
had
came
th-
prepared.
they've had three owners since 2009. Actually,
Yeah,
four if you're gonna count the NHL, technically. Um,
yeah,
there
because
was
the NHL took them over at one point.
Yeah, so the NHL. I don't know who their owner was originally. Actually, wait, there was five. Sorry, I don't know who the owner was originally. Anyways, went bankrupt, and the NHL took over, and now they were looking for some billionaire guy, trust fund kids, to come with the
Yeah,
money and like, I want to buy a hockey team, in the desert because there's ice there. So there was Jim Balsley, I think is how you
okay.
pronounce his name, and he actually tried to move the team to Hamilton back in 2009, like around there, or maybe before that. I'm not too sure on the timeline, but I know he tried to move the team to Hamilton, and the NHL took him to court and said this team is not going anywhere. Like you can't just move stuff without following guidelines, just because you bought the team.
Yeah.
So essentially, well, because he made a bid on the team, and he's like, well, the team's bankrupt. I should be able to move them wherever I want, where I think is going to make money. And he actually lost in court, and that's why the Hamilton rumor kind of flew away and was no longer in bidding for the Arizona Coyotes. Then you had Matthew Halzizer. I don't know how to
Okay.
pronounce his name. Also, uh, started as the owner in 2010, then moved on in 2011. So a lot of these guys in and out owners, right? And then there's the city of Glendale, who puts in another $25 million to just keep the team there, which
Yeah.
makes no sense. Why would you pay money for a team that makes no money? You're just losing money. Anyways, makes no sense for the taxpayers of that city. Then you have Andrew Barnaway, who became the owner in 2017. And then they changed owner again in 2019 for the owner that they have today, Alex
Marillo.
Morello, who took ownership
Yeah.
in 2019, owns casinos and is known for,
And there's
turning
there's
over companies.
there's actually a funny story with him that I read up on. You know that he was being investigated on multiple occasions for tax fraud, and also being investigated at the time too, while Arizona was going on, for not paying their employees. And there was an issue with Arizona for a while of them not paying their players. The contracts that they had on the books. Example, Oliver Ekman-Larsson was one that I remember vividly, that they didn't pay him his full salary, and that he didn't have the funds to pay him the full salary because the team was going bankrupt. And so I think the issue with Arizona stems more from the fact that I think the NHL is trying to save something that they realize they've made a mistake on. And what I mean by that is, this is the NHL trying to fix their wounds without admitting that they've failed, right? Because let's be honest, this franchise has failed. It has failed, and it's going to continue to fail until something is resolved. They have a new arena coming in Tempe. That I don't really think is going to make a difference. I really don't think
Tempe.
Tempe,
People,
yeah.
People get offended actually on that online if you don't
Sorry,
pronounce
so
it
Tempe.
properly.
They have a new arena in Tempe. I don't think that's going to make a difference. You're in a university level arena now with 5,000 seats. That's not going to make a difference, I don't think either. So,
I want to get into that actually.
yeah,
So
go
quick
for it.
side before we switch. 5,000 seat arena. We've heard all the memes. I don't even know do they have their logo on the center ice. I know that was a big debate.
No, they
I don't know
don't.
if they
They
don't.
don't.
Okay. They have a good behavior clause.
Yes.
So for those people who don't know what it means, put two and two together. You're in a college with a lot of university. There's parties in university. A lot of young talent on the Arizona Coyote. Good looking talent. Okay, they're like supermodels, these guys. What do you think could possibly happen that could lead the university to say, you guys are done here? We're not going to mention it here because we're not a political place.
No.
But it could happen. And chances are that something might happen later on. They might come out with some kind of stuff. Who knows? All right. It could be anything. It could be players partying and they're not supposed to. It could be anything. Listen, I think I think this team should have been gone a long time ago. They've had 9 playoff appearances since 1979.
I mean, they've still been around since 1979.
But 9 playoff appearances.
Wait, really? It's been that long since 1979?
Yeah, because the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay, because they were the Winnipeg Jets before. Yeah, okay.
I don't really
makes
count
sense.
that, but whatever.
But
Sorry?
yeah, I don't count that as Arizona.
That's like saying Quebec won all the Stanley Cups.
No. I mean, they relocated in 1979.
Oh,
I think
okay.
19. Correct. Well, I mean, you could search it up, but I'm pretty
search
sure
it
it's 1979, the year where the
2000.
Winnipeg Jets. Really, 2000. I mean, I
thought it
read.
was- I thought
I
it
read
was
that they
2000.
joined the league in 1979. Maybe I'm mistaken. I could be that I read.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah, they did join the league.
no,
that year.
1996. Arizona
Yeah.
Coyotes.
So
They
what
were
am
the
I?
Phoenix. They were the Phoenix Coyotes. It was the Winnipeg Jets from 1972 to 1979 in WHA.
Okay,
Then it
what
became
was.
1979 to 1996 in the NHL, and then in 1996 they turned into the Phoenix Coyotes.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah,
So
my bad on that. But
and one of the things that's interesting, and actually it's in the comments, 2001 Lex Talionis wrote, is that it's actually the fourth largest TV market in the States. And it does have something to do with broadcasting rights as well. The NHL wants to make money, and I think they feel like Arizona is a city that can make money. The issue is that there are other hockey markets that deserve a hockey team, right? We mentioned Houston, we mentioned Quebec, we mentioned Kansas City, we even mentioned Hamilton. These are cities that have hockey fans, that have passionate hockey fans that would bring in revenue to the NHL, especially in Quebec City. And that's just not just us being biased because we're from Montreal. If you look at the Quebec City and you look at where the rivalry is between Montreal and Quebec, it makes a lot of sense to have a team in Quebec. The issue is that the NHL doesn't
Perfect
want to.
comment that
Yeah,
reinstates more
that's it.
more
They have
seats, more seats, right? Available compared to the
yeah,
5,000 seats that are available in their new arena
but I'll
currently.
tell you what the problem is with putting it in Quebec is that Colorado owns the rights to the Nordiques, so they would have to either change their name, which I don't think Quebec fans would be happy. Well,
yeah. Well, he cut off,
It
but
cut out, but
basically, actually, fun fact. You guys want to know something before we continue? You know the arena. Yeah, you cut off.
sorry
you
about that.
man,
But I was just gonna say that the Arizona Coyotes arena, the name is called Mullet Arena. I don't know if you guys
they're just trying
knew
to
that.
do anything just to stay in the public
So,
eye. You know what I mean?
so
Like
it's a bit
just
funny.
try to garner some
But
positive interest.
I think personally, I look at Arizona and I want them to succeed because I think it would be a cool story if they do. But it's just like it's embarrassing at this point. It really is, like it's embarrassing, and the NHL wants to be taken seriously, right? They talk about how they want to compete with the NBA, they want to compete with all these big leagues and be one of the major leagues in the United States and be popular and everybody to talk about them. Well, when you do stuff like this and you're keeping a team that A is losing money, B is not bringing in any, they're not acting relevant, they're not trying to compete in any way, shape, or form. That they traded half their roster for a bunch of nobodies, just put them on the ice and said, "Yeah, we're going to tank this year," and then got a bunch of draft
They're
picks of
actively
players that don't.
trying to tank. They have a surplus of prospects that are gonna do, very well in the NHL. But the thing is that how many prospects do we see that were highly, respected and highly, picked in their respected draft years, not become the players that they were supposed to be? Max Domi was one of them. And right as of right now, their team is, filled with young talent: Clayton Keller, Barrett Hayton, Jack McBain, Lawson Krause. And if you want to go prospect
Yeah, but
wise, we
these
have
are not
Logan
wow.
Cooley,
Like these are
Dylan,
not
Dylan
wow players.
Guenther, Connor Geeky. This team, Victor Soderstrom. This team has the prospect, and these guys are all drafted in the top 15 in the past couple of years, or at least most of them are.
There was
And
Dylan Strom as well, who
yeah, Dylan Strom was another guy that didn't reach expectations, and he fell through, right, and he's been a journeyman ever since. I think it all comes down to the organization. I think they need to hire people that are actually gonna you know develop a good development system, right, for these young
But
kids. If
well,
you're gonna tank, at least do that, because you're gonna be winning games and you're gonna be a good team, even though and you're going to garner a lot more interest in terms of trying to get people to come back to the arena. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes. They were interesting. They're a big fan base at one point. They win the Stanley Cup in 2006, but ever since then,
yeah,
they were
but
falling apart. Then they all of a sudden, with the storm surge, good development for their youth, making good hockey trades, and look at them now. They're a highly respected team. They're always in the public eye, but with good reason. So I think that's what the Arizona Coyotes need to do. But if they fail to do that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they relocate eventually and they eventually win a Stanley Cup, because look at Quebec. They had Joe Sakic on that team, Peter Forsberg, two guys
yeah,
that
but
were pivotal for Colorado to win the Stanley Cup multiple times. So, and I think Arizona Coyotes do have the pieces to do it, but they're just not in the right market. They don't have the right organization.
here's the thing too is
I mean, management,
I mean,
sorry.
for a long time, they were searching for an identity, I guess, or like a path to success, and they hired John Chayka, horrible mistake.
He cost him. He got them in big trouble.
Yeah, and see, the thing is that he based his, like every GM nowadays, is he says he's gonna base his decisions and his strategy to make this team win is on analytics. But every single move he's done is purely non-analytical. Trading Max Domi away for Alex Galchenyuk, that is not an analytical move. That is
Well, that was just two guys that needed to change the scenery.
Yeah.
Realistically,
Derek Stepan was an analytical move.
yeah. But it goes back to kind of we could talk about all the GM.
Kempe has been the only analytical move he's made, and Ranta, arguably.
Yeah, but I think one of the things with Arizona now, I think right now they're in a better spot than they were a couple of years ago. I think
Bill
you have
Armstrong's doing a good job.
yeah, I think that where they are now versus where they were, let's say 2-3 years ago, they're in a better spot. My concern is not necessarily the team and the way it's built. My concern is this team going to be able to function long term? And look, they drafted Logan Cooley, but even before that, Shane Wright had publicly come out, and even if he didn't officially directly say it, there was a YouTube video that came out saying that he didn't want to play in Arizona.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is one of the things that you need to kind of take into consideration. These guys who are coming into the NHL, the Connor Bedards, the Matvei Michkovs, the Adam Fantillis, and future draft picks of whoever else comes in, right? These guys are not going to want to play in an arena that is not filled with fans. And the reason I say that is because, yes, some people like under the radar. Some people don't like the big media and covering you all the time or whatever. But they want to be able to go to a city where the fans care a little bit, right? And in Arizona, they don't care. And
They have a fan base, but it's a very small fan base. I've spoken to Arizona fans before, but it's so hard to find them.
Dude, Paul Bissonnette is the best thing that ever happened to that franchise. Honestly.
I'm going to be honest. I would play in Arizona. I don't see what the problem is because the weather's perfect. At night, it's cold. During the day, it's
not
hot.
A hockey city.
It's not a hockey city, so you're not getting bombarded with people coming up to you like, oh, sign me this, sign me that. And think of it, you're losing every season. So you're playing golf. I love golf. I'm playing golf every summer. Let's face it.
Of course.
So who wouldn't want to go play there? Jokes aside on the golf and losing. But seriously, who wouldn't want to go play there? Yeah. I think at this point you need to switch it up. I think Logan Cooley, I think he's still the best player that's coming out of this draft. I know people are like, oh, Slavkovsky is the best.
We'll see.
I think Logan Cooley.
I think
Logan Cooley should have gone first overall. I think he's very talented. I feel like this team. I think the relocation, if it were to happen, I think it should go to a Canadian team. It's only fair. Canada made hockey. Let's face it. We're not gonna sit here and not pretend like it's not the truth.
I think
it's the truth, and I feel like Canada's been getting a very tough reputations lately with the whole COVID thing and all-star players leaving to go to the US. I feel like the NHL is not putting measures in place to have Canadian markets be a place that people want to go to, like Winnipeg or Calgary or Montreal, because of the whole taxes and.
Look at Winnipeg. Winnipeg is being crapped on all the time. And when Sam Gagner signed, not so long ago at Winnipeg, you're like, wow, finally someone that wants to play in Winnipeg. And that's pretty sad, to be honest.
And here, 2001, Alex is saying it's about money. It's not about the fans. But at the end of the day, it is about the fans because the fans is what makes the money.
Yeah.
So would you rather make a little bit of profit in Quebec or lose a ton of money in Arizona?
Yeah, but that's what it comes down to. But the American dollar.
Yeah, the American dollar. Sure. The American dollar. I mean, it's a factor, but is it that much of a? It's not worth going there.
For Bettman, that's what it seems like. It seems like Bettman doesn't want, because I think he had come out because I know that there was a meeting at one point. I think January it was, where François Legault, the Prime Minister of Quebec, had a meeting with, Gary Bettman about a potential move to Quebec. And basically, Gary Bettman looked at him and said, we're already happy with the 7 Canadian teams that we have. We don't want to move one. And I think the only way a Canadian team gets another team is if a Canadian team moves. And in that sense, it would probably be either a Winnipeg or an Ottawa in this case that would probably have to move to become, either Quebec or
Or
Hamilton.
Winnipeg, not a second time.
Right.
I wouldn't want any of those teams to move anywhere.
But I'm saying if that I'm not saying they will. I think Ottawa's in a better position now, but we'll see, because they're another team that has had a lot of trouble in terms of fans and whatever. But just kind of going back to Arizona, I think what saves this franchise, and I'm going to be honest, I think this is the only thing that saves their franchise. If Austin Matthews ends up playing for Arizona, if
Which
Austin
I think we're gonna
Matthews,
throw money at him when he hits
but
the
here's the thing:
market.
if Austin Matthews were to not sign in Toronto and end up in Arizona, I think that would save their franchise. And I think the reason why that saves their franchise is because A, he's from there, and B, he grew up an Arizona fan, right? He's the superstar name in the NHL. When you talk about the NHL, you talk about Connor McDavid, you talk about Nathan McKinnon, you talk about Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, you talk about Austin Matthews. And, he's the best goal scorer that we've seen in this generation so far, barring Ovi, obviously. But he's the guy that would put Arizona on the map. And I think a lot of people have said that. If you read up on Arizona, they say Austin Matthews is the reason that this franchise could, still function. I believe that plays a factor. Now, I don't know if that plays a whole factor, but think about it. He would be held basically a legend in Arizona if he
I will never, ever, ever. I will never. That won't happen. It won't happen.
Oh, I'm not saying
There's
it'll
no way to
happen.
put it.
I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying
Clip this now.
that's the
It's
only
never
way
gonna
it happens.
happen. He's staying in Toronto, and if anything, he moves to. Why would you play in Arizona?
He grew up an Arizona fan.
Doesn't matter. I grew up in Montreal. Does it mean I want to play in Montreal? Hell no.
I mean, I would.
Well, look,
I mean, I would for maybe a couple, like 1 or 2 years, but towards the end of my career. But
the
never
comment
my
section is
prime.
making it very clear, why this is not essentially happening. You guys are ignoring the fact that adding a Team Canada doesn't add money to the NHL pot, and their two biggest growth piles: licensing and TV revenue. And
Yeah, but TV revenue, it's because
we
you
have
got to
some
understand that
agreeing with him.
it becomes a situation where with TV revenue, I mean, I definitely agree that those are two big issues as well. Licensing becomes a big issue because there's only 7 Canadian teams in the NHL, and compared to the States where there's 24, actually 25 now. But in terms of TV rights, I mean, listen, we don't have the same coverage we do in this. We don't have the same TV channels we do in the States, right? In Canada, we have Sportsnet, TSN, and if you're in Montreal, you have LDS and TVA, right? Those are essentially your 4 that you have in terms of TV revenue. And you can argue that it's basically 3 because TSN and LDS are basically one company, just one's in English, one's in French, right? So essentially you have 3. And you have to split that between Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, and Winnipeg. And so what ends up happening is that because of the fact that it's only in Canada, they're only going to show the Canadian games. If you notice Sportsnet, they don't really show American teams. They only show Canadian teams. And so that's why for TV revenue, it becomes a big issue because Arizona gets more coverage in the States than they would in Canada, just like there's more American teams than there are Canadian teams. Therefore, the coverage in America becomes more than coverage in Canada. It's just common knowledge, right? It has nothing really to do with the rights in general. I mean, if you think about it, it kind of is what it is. And then Mike C wrote, okay, so you're saying Rogers or TSN, are you bidding any higher for the next TV deal with Quebec? No. Well, no, because Quebec would get coverage from, first of all, TSN and Sportsnet would technically already get TV coverage with Quebec because they'd have no choice because they'd be playing other Canadian teams. So they would have to have coverage with Quebec anyways. But in terms of bidding, I mean, LDS and TSN would technically be bidding with LDS and TVA would essentially be bidding with Quebec. And the other thing is too, it just happens that Montreal gets coverage from Rogers and TSN. So Quebec would probably get the same treatment as Montreal essentially because they're pretty much the same city. So
anyways, put that all aside though. Even if they're not moving to a Canadian team,
yeah,
Houston or Kansas City would still be a way better option. Like
I was about to say, I don't live in fantasy.
I do not understand
it's about American markets.
What's the fatuation? Is that the? Is I? Yeah.
Infatuation.
with Arizona and Gary Bettman, I don't know what it is. I don't know if his first girlfriend came from Arizona and he's in
He
love
wants
with
to
the
save
city
it.
or something. God knows, man. But
But
like,
Houston,
Jesus Christ.
Houston makes the most amount of sense just because look at what Dallas has done.
Yeah, they would
Um,
have a rivalry
that's it, and
essentially,
I think that would be one of the most underrated rivalries in the NHL too. If that were to happen, and Houston makes sense. I mean, look, if you look at every team that Houston has,
and they're already in
right?
the same division too. By the way,
Yeah,
Arizona, they
but
just moved. So
if you look at every team that Houston has, they've been successful.
And
They've been
that's
successful.
my realistic pick because, as you know, I'm Canadian and all, but I'm a realist. And for me, it's all about the American dollar. It's all about the American market. Gary Bettman is an American. So it comes down to which American market gets the relocation. For me, it's going to be Houston that wins the bidding war, essentially. You look at their basketball team, you look at um,
baseball.
their baseball, the MLS team, it is what it is. It all comes down to
Yeah.
that. And there was also rumors, strong rumors saying that there was maybe a potential bid from somebody. I'm not sure who it was exactly, an owner that they wanted to, if they bought the Arizona Coyotes, they wanted to move that team to Houston. And I know Bar Down wrote all these articles saying, so if Arizona does move to Houston, what are the possibilities for names? Houston Arrow is a team that Gordie Howe actually played on. So
They used to also be an AHL team with the Minnesota Wild for a little bit too.
yeah,
Sorry,
so
guys. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to answer this question right away. It's no, the answer. Let me put it back. All right.
look, they've added
Not
Logan
as
Cooley. They've added Logan Cooley, right? I'm not surprised if they add more Americans by the time that Austin Matthews is a UFA, even if he hits the market, which I think Toronto's going to throw anything at Matthews to stay. Uh,
Any team, but
yeah,
he's going to a contender. Let's face it. If Toronto's not winning anytime soon, he's going to a
yeah, he's
contender.
going to a contender, in my opinion. I see him maybe on a team like Los Angeles or maybe even the Anaheim Ducks. We'll see.
Ah, that would be cool.
Yeah, Zegras is there, so he's a fellow American. I think Troy Terry as well as a
to
fellow
me.
American.
To me, kind of how I see it. I think kind of how I see it is it's just one of those things where it's like we can kind of hope, and we've all been expecting the same thing of like we want Arizona to move. We don't like what the hell's going on, but at the end of the day, the NHL wants to keep saving this franchise, and we're at least gonna have Arizona for the next 5 years. That's
I'm gonna
just
keep on having this conversation all the time, but we
so.
felt, the Young Guns podcast had to cover this, right? So, I'm glad that we finally did after, coming up with this idea months ago. But we hope that you guys enjoyed this topic and it's something that interests
It
you.
seems like they have because they're interacting. Well, they're talking in the comments, so it looks like it's good.
A lot
But
of comments. Yeah.
But listen, we're not experts when it comes to kind of the whole relocation stuff and whatever. I think it's just our personal opinions and based on everything that we know and
It's a good
what
debate to
we've
have,
read on.
essentially.
And I think if you look at it, I mean, look, I've seen Arizona fail. We've watched Arizona fail for so long now, revenue wise, and they've never really had a competitive team. I think they one year they made it past made it to the second round or past the second round, but that's about it. And
They made it to
so
the Western Conference Finals once in the
yeah, that's what I'm
past.
Yeah.
saying. That was the only time, and so I think because of that, it just doesn't work. But I think if Arizona were to move, it would probably have to be to Houston or
The
Kansas
Yeah,
City.
the consensus choice here is that, if Arizona does move, it's to an American team. The comment section saying it, we're agreeing with
They're
it.
saying move Carolina. There was a comment I saw that says Carolina to Houston
Yeah, that
from
won't happen unless Carolina, retires their
Carolina's made
seasons
a lot of
again.
money lately, and they've had a successful team, and they've had really good revenues over the last couple of years. That I think they're kind of on the up now, kind of like Florida. If you look at Florida and you look at Carolina, those were two topics that were talked about as potentially being moved because of the fact that they weren't making enough money. But
But
they've both done well and built good
But
teams. And
here's the thing though. Florida, it's because of the location of their arena,
and
yeah,
then
and
we have Tampa
I
Bay, going
and
to
I
the finals 3 years in a
yeah,
row. I
exactly.
mean, it
and
doesn't
because of
help.
Tampa too, yeah.
But Arizona, I'll tell you why. Poor ownership, poor management, poor team. That's what it comes down to. They hit the
The
trifecta.
three big,
Yeah,
things that make a team successful. And what did Florida improve? Management, the
The
team,
team.
And the third one that you mentioned?
Well, ownership, but ownership was I
Yeah,
mean
but
that
ownership essentially
listen,
woke up. That's what I'm
the
saying.
yeah, but the location in Florida. Listen, I've been several times. The arena is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. The food there is amazing. If ever you guys get the chance to go, the buffet there, it's perfect. Like I'd rather go eat than watch the hockey game. To be honest, no, I'm just kidding. But
Maybe that's why. Maybe people go and
but
they spend more
but
time in the food court.
it's right next to a shopping center in the middle of nowhere. It's like 30 minutes away from this main city. It's inconvenient. And Arizona kind of is away from Phoenix. I don't know how far away they are from Phoenix, especially now with the whole university. I don't know how close they are. Uh, but and I found this stat. I don't know if we could like use this kind of as an argument, but I'll throw it in there anyways. But in 2021 and 2022, they were 30th in the NHL in appearances, and the only two teams that had less appearances than they did was Ottawa, but that's because of COVID restrictions in Canada were terrible, and the Buffalo Sabres, which is the fans boycotting the team essentially because of management and what they've been doing.
Yeah, but guys, we're
But that's
looking here.
we've known this for a while. I think the issue is, and a lot of in the comments too, I'm reading it. Um, Arizona's a big market. They're a big market in the States, and I think that's probably the biggest reason why the NHL have kept them is because of the fact that they're a big market in the States and they have a lot of TV coverage and they're talked about a lot because they have a lot of other sports that they're into. So I think that makes sense. But I just hockey, sometimes you'll have to accept that hockey just doesn't work in a city, and I just don't think it works in Arizona. And that's my opinion. You can debate me on that. Like people can debate me on that if they want. But I've watched Arizona in terms of I'm not talking about any other sport here. I'm talking about hockey. In terms of hockey, it just doesn't work in Arizona, and that's just kind of how I see it. It has nothing to. I'm aware that they're one of the largest cities in the States. I'm aware that they get a lot of TV coverage, but they can get a lot of TV coverage. But if nobody's watching the hockey games, it doesn't really matter. To be
Seems
completely
like
honest,
Soccer Insider really wants the Hartford Whalers back.
They actually played in a shopping mall.
But just a quick word for our sponsors. The video is sponsored by Bet99. So if you do like fantasy hockey, football, or other casino games, please sign up to Bet99. In the description below, you could sign up using the code YoungGuns1. You have to be 19 and over to play, and you have to play responsibly. And our other sponsor, which is the Mind Foundation Canada, they raise funds and awareness to find cures for neurological disease and disorders. They're currently focused on mental health. So if you want to donate anything, their website link is in the description below. But guys, I think there's really everything possible that we covered through our research, also mixed in with our own opinion and based off what the comments section is saying as well. If Arizona Coyotes do in fact move, it's to an American team, not a Canadian team. So people dreaming for Quebec, it is a shot. It's a
I'll be
long
honest.
shot.
I don't think Quebec ever gets another hockey team. I
No,
don't
I
think we're
think
ever
it's
going to
done.
see
They
it.
had their
I
time. It's
I
over.
don't think that Hamilton I could see if Ottawa or Winnipeg end up moving, but in terms of Quebec, I don't see Quebec ever getting a hockey. First of all, it just doesn't make sense. Montreal's already there, and it would take away revenues from the Canadians too. So it wouldn't necessarily make any sense for them to have Quebec back, anyways. But I don't see it. I don't think it would ever happen. Personally, I know people can wish for it. I know a lot of people want it, but I just don't see it.
It would be
So
cool.
Yeah.
it would be.
And with that being said, guys, we would just like to say thank you once again for watching this episode. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share this with any Arizona Coyote fans if there's any that even exist to begin with.
We
I'm
don't mean
joking,
that
guys.
in a bad way. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. Anyways, guys, we'll see you in the next episode of the Young Eds podcast where we're going to be talking about our Calder winner predictions. So we'll
Ooh.
see you then.